Hello my friends and welcome. My name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Let's start this video from those kind of the news. Russia targeted Ukrainian military airfield. But those are not as dramatic news as they could be. Let me tell you more about the stuff. So we have this video. The Russian surveillance drone is flying in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, and here you can see cluster munition in operation. Those are the shells from the Russian ballistic missile. Basically disassembles in the sky and creates this sort of the effect similar to ATACMS cluster munition. So in some certain way it is the response of the Russian army on yesterday's attack by Ukraine on Jankoy airfield in Crimea, where Russia lost lots of the S-400 systems. You see some of the aircraft on the scene and two of the fighter jets. One is here and the other one is over here, clearly MiG-29s. Russians claim that they've destroyed two of the airplanes, but the fact is that those airplanes are not airworthy. They were staying there for a very long time and were just cannibalized for the spare parts to sustain the other MiG-29 airplanes. The equipment and engines were removed from those planes, so basically we shouldn't count it as the loss for Ukrainian army if we speak about the fighter jets. We can clearly find this airfield near to Dnipro city. It's called Aviatorsky Military Airfield. And here on the left you can see the parking stand with the airplanes. Those are Yakolev-40 commercial airplanes. They are not connected to the military aviation. They're not flying for decades. However, on this image we are unable to spot MiG-29s. But again, according to my information, MiG-29s were also not flying, not airworthy, were disassembled to maintain the other airplanes. That's why they were parked to the remote stands. However, what Russia successfully targeted in the place are Ukrainian air defense systems, S-300s, which are used to defend the airfield against the airstrikes, but you cannot defend the airfield against the ballistic missile like Iskander, which Russia launched to target one of the S-300 launchers. So Ukraine lost at least one of the launchers out there. This information is legit and confirmed by the video. I've flown to this airfield a couple of the times, also on a small airplane. The main issue for Ukraine that now Russia is able to strike targets far behind the front lines. We're speaking more than 90 kilometers away from the actual battlefield. Plus, they are also able to evaluate the air surveillance live at this long distance, using quite sophisticated drones, which Ukraine, as you see, is unable to spot. From the Ukrainian side, I haven't seen the drones capable for this kind of the operation by 90 kilometers away from the front lines. It is the most concerning information that we obtained today. So in fact, Russia may spot Ukrainian supplies and all of the Ukrainian army units, vehicles, etc. really far away from the front lines. If Ukraine start one more counteroffensive someday, Russia would understand the direction and the number of the forces we have. It's very, very bad actually. So how can Ukraine cope with that? With the help of more of the air defense systems, and probably we have some of the good news coming for Ukraine in this case, because Chancellor Scholz already announced that Ukraine may obtain 6 more Patriot systems from some of the other countries. We know that Germany will support 1 more air defense system to Ukraine. We're not speaking about this particular track with missiles. No, the system includes at least 8 of the tracks, launchers, radar and other vehicles which are used to maintain this complex. Netherlands are looking for purchasing at least 1 of the system and then supplying it for Ukraine, as well as some of the unknown countries. We understand that this topic is very crucial, it's damn serious for Ukrainian defense, and it will be resolved. At least I have this feeling from all of the negotiations ongoing right now and all of the promises. The manufacturer of the RST system, German-made, also promised to supply 1 of those to Ukraine very soon. Why the air defense systems are so important for Ukraine? Because first of all, they are used to protect Ukrainian energy against the Russian drones and missiles attack. The second thing, that they are used to cope with the Russian aviation and drones, helping Ukraine to minimize losses on the front lines, because Russia continued to use aviation gliding bombs. But the real thing to cope with that are the F-16, so we're still waiting for those airplanes to arrive. According to the latest news, they should come in June or July. At the same time, Ukraine is working on counter-reaction against the Russian drone attacks or ballistic missiles attacks. Ukraine developed some special drones with a range up to 300 kilometers. Potentially, those are able to target the Russian facilities behind Ural Mountains. Here we may check the Economist article about the case. Ukraine is ignoring United States warnings to end drone operations inside Russia. Ukraine is goal-oriented to target many of the Russian facilities. In the future, we're going to see many more strikes on the Russian infrastructure. First of all, military infrastructure, for sure. Is it good? Well, I think yes, because Ukraine should respond on the Russian attacks. By the way, while I'm recording this video, Russia again launched their strategic bombers, probably to launch missiles targeting Ukrainian infrastructure as usual. Plus, Ukraine started to use balloon surveillance, putting some of the radars on balloons, launching them to the very high altitude up to 35 kilometers. Those stations are used to transmit the signal for the long-range drones, and also they might carry some of the drone signal jammers. The Russian side already started to complain that Ukraine is using those kind of the tools. My friends, just a short break. If you want to support the job that I do on YouTube daily, you may join my Patreon page. The link you may find in the video description just below. Thank you so much for your kind support. Sorry about the low resolution video quality, but the main thing is the audio for us. It seems like Mike Johnson totally changed his opinion about Ukrainian support. Let's listen to his speech that was recorded the last evening.
I think providing lethal aid to Ukraine right now is critically important. I really do. I really do believe the intel and the briefings that we've gotten that I believe Xi and Vladimir Putin and Iran really are an axis of evil. I think they're in coordination on this. I think that Vladimir Putin would continue to march through Europe if he were allowed. I think he might go to the Balkans next. I think he might have a showdown with Poland or one of our NATO allies.
The rhetorics that I told you about many times before. So now Speaker Johnson agrees with everything that was said from his opponents too, and I still wonder why he didn't put the main bill for voting a long time ago. Why this circus was around, created mainly by MAGA group. Because after all, he says what every normal person understood a long time ago.
To put it bluntly, I would rather send bullets to Ukraine than American boys. My son is going to begin in the Naval Academy this fall. This is a live fire exercise for me, as it is so many American families. This is not a game. It's not a joke. We can't play politics of this. We have to do the right thing. And I'm going to allow an opportunity for every single member of the House to vote their conscience and their will on this. And I think that's the way this institution is supposed to work. And I'm willing to take personal risk for that because we have to do the right thing and history will judge us.
Absolutely complete Mike Johnson. You see how politicians might change their opinions, depends on political situation in general and their own personal profit. So after all, speaking about the military bill for Ukraine, yes, indeed, it is the awesome one and hopefully it will be supported. However, we see that many cringy MAGA members try now to block this aid. For example, this lady, if we may call her like that, I'll not tell her name because obviously you know it, she says that Ukraine shouldn't obtain funds. She told that military support also should be taken from Israel and everything should be done to help Americans and to fight against migrants. The thing that she put all of those initiatives as amendments in the proposal bill from Mike Johnson, but I think it's just nonsense and it will not be supported by a majority. What MAGA members and their supporters do right now, they want to extend the time for Ukraine to obtain the military support as later as possible. They already understood that majority of Congress and Senate are normal people and they will support the military help for Ukraine. But by using bureaucratic levers, MAGA wants to slow it down. This probably woman told about some sort of the biolabs in Ukraine, repeating the Russian narratives that Ukraine is working on some sort of the virus to poison the Russian nation using mosquitoes. She, he, or it. The most effective way how right now MAGA might block the military support for Ukraine is to impeach Mike Johnson. Indeed, they may have enough votes to come out with this initiative, but after all, they will fail with it because majority wouldn't support it. It's kind of interesting for me to say, but we should protect Mike Johnson right now. As you see, politics is a very strange thing. And you know, delusional Donald Trump is playing his own game. He is not supporting the military aid for Ukraine, saying that why isn't Europe giving money to help Ukraine? Why is it the United States is over $100 billion into Ukraine war more than Europe, and we have ocean between us, separation? Why can't Europe equalize or match the money put in by the United States of America in order to help country in desperate need? As everyone agrees, Ukrainian survival and strength should be much more important to Europe than to us. But it is also important to us. Get moving, Europe. In addition, I am the only one who speaks for me. And while it is total mess caused by crook Joe Biden and the incompetent Democrats. And the best one, if I were president, this war would have never started. Well, how can I comment it? People in the comments already said about the stuff. So the United States of America already sent $74 billion. The new tranche of aid being debated or negotiated will rise it up to $135.6 billion. The European countries provided $166.5 billion, including recently announced support package of Ukraine, $54 billion United States dollars. It means that European aid therefore exceeds United States aid. So Trump's statement that the United States sent $100 billion more compared to Europe to Ukraine is total bullshit. Americans, do you still trust those kind of the politicians? I know that you have mostly no one to choose from, but this guy, Say Director Burns wants Ukraine could lose war with Russia by end of the year unless the United States sends more military aid for the country. Here we see the full article, it goes for the CNN source. There is a very real risk that the Ukrainians could lose the battlefield by the end of 2024, or at least put Putin in a position where he could dictate the terms of political settlement, obviously in the Russian favor. I think that Mr. Burns, say director, says like that in the light of the future voting for Ukrainian support for Ukrainian bill. It is critical, and actually it's truth, to show that without American support, Ukraine is unable to not just win in this war, but may easily lose more territories, and in this case would be forced to negotiate with Russia. As you probably remember, happened at the beginning of 2022, then Russia was very close to Kiev, so Kiev was negotiating with Russia some term deal in Istanbul, and after that Russia was kicked out from Kiev region and from many territories of Ukraine, including Kharkiv, the most part of the Kharkiv Oblast. In general, I'm quite positive about the future deal for Ukraine, and I'm almost sure that it will be voted this time finally. The similar alarming notices are coming from Ukrainian side. Ukrainian Prime Minister also says that there could be even World War III if Ukraine loses against Russia. So Russia will continue with their aggression behavior against other neighbors like Poland, for example, and in this case, the United States would have to join the war. Many of those articles are published elsewhere, including BBC and other media sources. It is designed for Congress to take a proper decision for Ukrainian support. Zelensky is also urging allies to support the air defense systems because Russia might strike the nuclear power plants, as he says. Well, it would be a very crazy step to do from the Russian side, but Russian managers, I mean Putin and his circle, are just crazy barbarians, so they might try to do it. I do not exclude this variant. Good news about Ukrainian artillery production, for example, artillery system Bogdana, which is equipped with 155mm cannon, is now on a massive production in Ukrainian factories. Ukraine is able to produce 10 of the units monthly. The last year it was just 2 of the units, at the beginning of this year 6 of the units, and now 10 absolutely awesome. Russia is seeking for alternate ways to hire more soldiers to the Russian army and to avoid a new massive mobilization, because this move is very unpopular among the Russian society. So what they did, they increased the salary for the Russian soldiers and also forcing compulsory conscripts to sign the contracts with the Russian army after their mandatory service term finishes. So potentially using this new old strategy, Russia might hire around 300,000 soldiers as they plan this year. Now the salary of some of the soldiers is coming to $7,000 a month. Absolutely crazy money for those Russians who live in a very terrible conditions somewhere in Siberia. Yeah, the educated part of the Russian society would never voluntarily join the Russian army, but people who are brainwashed, who are very limited in their life in general, they go to serve in the Russian army. They do not watch Telegram, how the Russian soldiers are suffering, fighting on the front lines. I mean, videos filmed from Ukrainian drones. They live in poverty, and the most entertaining thing in their life is usually vodka. So crazy money that Russia pays for them right now is just blowing their mind, and they go to fight and die in Ukraine. So Russia tries to avoid a new mobilization, but they will be forced to do it 100% because with the current losses, it's just imminent for the Russian army. About the very important radar that was probably targeted by Ukrainian drones, in Russia it's called container. Well, according to the information coming from the Russian side, indeed it was targeted. If it was significantly damaged, it means that Russia lost the capability to detect ballistic missiles that could be launched from their Russian counterparts, for example from the United States of America. Yet the information about the case is coming with a small portion from the Russian side, so we shouldn't trust it, at least right now. The satellite images so far are not available from particular place. What we know that it is one of the most important radars for Russia, and also that it would be very hard for Russia to restore it or to build a new system like that in the future for the possible replacement, because the factory and the institute that developed this system doesn't exist any longer. The factory carried the same name, Container, is already closed long time ago. The development and design of this radar took 5 years, and only after 10 years then the Russian army got it, it started to work with full capabilities. So it could be a huge defeat if this strike was real and the Ukrainian drone reached the target. Russia still has some other radars like that, but this one was the most important and the most effective. Right now let's go to the front lines review. Unfortunately today Russia advanced again, this time towards Novokalinovo. I think that they also advanced there yesterday, so yeah, indeed for a couple of days they are able to reach this settlement, taking this street and also a few of the buildings. So soon they're gonna occupy all of this village. For the next half a year, we're gonna see this similar picture. Then Russia assaults and Ukraine retreats from the positions, because basically Ukraine is out of their military resources. But with a new military help from the United States, I think the situation might change dramatically for Russia, but only in 2025. Alright, what else was today? The fighting continues for an electrical substation in Ocheretin. Ocheretin is over here, the electrical substation probably in this area. So it was yesterday and today. So again, yesterday, today, quite a good news for a very long time that Ukraine was able to repel the Russian attack, even taking back some of the territories. And if we zoom out, it is very close to Avdiivka town. We have some of the videos from the front lines, but according to this platform policy, I'm unable to post them on YouTube, so you may check out my Telegram channel in the video description just below, and I share more of the videos, including those kind of the from the front lines. Here I may just show you the screenshot with 2 of the Chinese golf carts. Russians went on assault using those carts directly towards the Ukrainian positions and were ambushed by our guys, this time from the machine gun fire. One of the wounded Russian soldiers managed to get back into the car. He went back, but later on was ambushed with the help of the FPV drone. So definitely Russians are using now everything for assault, even those golf carts. It's just crazy. No other army would dare to use those for assault missions. No, just for supplies. But Russians, they're quite unique with their attitude towards their own soldiers. My friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help my channel a lot. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.